Between love and expectations, the silent struggle. He sat by the fountain, his coat patched with time, his eyes lost in the rhythm of falling water. Around him, life moved fast, couples taking selfies, teenagers laughing too loud, tourists snapping pictures of things they'd forget by next week. No one noticed him. No one asked why a man with such calm eyes had no place to go. They assumed, as people often do, another homeless man. Probably a drunk. Maybe crazy. A waste of sidewalk space. 3 boys in button blazers, likely interns from the tower nearby, walked past him one evening. One tossed a few coins toward the fountain. "Make a wish, old man," he said, snickering. "Wish for a shower." The others laughed. He didn't look up. But deep inside, something stirred. Not shame. Not anger. Just a quiet, sharpened resolve. He had once walked into that very tower with the world at his feet. What they didn't know was that the man they mocked had once owned the entire floor they were now fetching coffee on. Before the fall, he had a name that echoed in boardrooms and startup summits. He was the visionary behind a revolutionary AI platform. But behind every success was a sacrifice, and his came in the form of a son. A son he tried to mold, to guide, to build into something greater. But in doing so, he never stopped to ask what the boy actually wanted. Love turned into pressure. Pressure into resentment. Until one day, the son walked away, saying just 5 words. "You never saw me, Dad." That was the day the silence began. But that silence had a cost. The business was left in the hands of outsiders. People with charm, but no heart. Within months, it crumbled. Lawsuits, betrayals, lies. Everything the man built dissolved like paper in rain. He disappeared from the headlines. Rumors said he fled to Europe. Some said he died. But he didn't. He chose to vanish, to live among those who had no reason to fake their smiles. Still, every week he watched from a distance. Not the tower. Not the business. But his son. The boy had grown into a man now. A quiet artist. Living simply. Teaching community classes. Painting murals that told stories of forgotten people. He didn't know his father stood across the street every Friday at 4 p.m., watching him pack up brushes and wipe paint off tired hands. One day, the father noticed something strange. A man in a black car, watching too. Different days, different cars, but the same driver. Always observing. Never approaching. At first, he thought it was paranoia. But then came the break-in at his son's studio. Then the fire at the community center. Ruled accidental. But the man knew better. Someone was trying to erase his son. That's when the silent struggle shifted. From guilt to protection. The father returned to his hidden past. Opened accounts he hadn't touched in years. Called in a few favors, most of which required no explanation. You don't forget the man who once saved your career, even if the world does. In just a few days, he assembled a quiet network. Not hackers or bodyguards. Thinkers. Survivors. People who owed him. He followed the car. Dug through connections. What he uncovered was a corporate syndicate linked to the very men who took over his company after his fall. They had learned of his son's true identity and of the silent trust that would soon unlock under his name. But that trust required one condition to activate: an in-person meeting between father and son. They never intended to let that happen. So the father made a choice. One that defied every expectation of who he had been. He stepped back into the light. But not at a press conference. Not on social media. He walked straight into his son's studio. The moment the door opened, their eyes met, and everything stopped. The son dropped his brush. "You?" The father said nothing at first. He stepped forward slowly, then extended a worn envelope. Inside it was a key. And a letter. "I should have been your father, not your manager," the letter read. "But before it's too late, I need you to know. They're coming for you. And I'm not letting that happen." That night, everything changed. Together, they unearthed the full truth: shell companies, offshore threats, even a hired man planted in the community art fund. The studio had been under surveillance for months. But now, the tables had turned. In a final twist, the father orchestrated a sting. Not flashy. not televised. Just a quiet takedown with the help of allies in places people forgot still had morals. But even after justice, something lingered. One afternoon, as they painted a mural together, just a father and son in silence, the son said, "You gave me expectations when I needed love." The father replied, "And you gave me silence when I needed forgiveness." Neither said another word, but in that silence was something new. Understanding. Maybe they'd never be what they once were, but they were something else now, wiser. Real. The man who once ruled towers now found peace on a ladder, helping his son paint color into gray walls. And for the first time in years, he didn't need the world to know who he was. He just needed him to know. In a world chasing success, sometimes the real story lives between love and expectations. Would you choose forgiveness over pride? Silence over applause? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional true life inspired stories.